Welcome back to the Integrated Self Podcast, everybody. Hello. My name is Arianna Sidway. I'm a holistic health practitioner, spiritual mentor, psychic intuitive, and author, PhD student. When does the list end? I don't know. All jokes aside, though, I'm super excited to be back. My goal has been to release podcast episodes every Thursday, sometimes just depending on my work schedule and what's going on with me. I'm just the kind of person that ever since I kind of broke away from the typical 9 to 5 and living my life in a kind of non-traditional way, I follow my own energy. I follow how I feel. Sometimes I sit down to make an episode, I'm just not feeling it energetically, and I know that energy corresponds and definitely is felt by the audience. So I'm very excited. I really do plan on releasing a podcast episode every week. They just might not be on time every week. But this is honestly where I thrive, and I'm so excited to be back. If you're watching me on YouTube, you can probably see my books here in the background. Just so the link to purchase the book will also be in the description below. It is also available on TikTok Shop, but we have it on Amazon as well. We have the Kindle and ebook digital version. We have a paperback version, and I'd have to look because we do have hardcover, but the last time I looked, it didn't say there were any available, so I definitely have to see. I believe that the book itself is cheaper on TikTok Shop and a little bit more expensive on Amazon, just to be totally transparent with you guys. Next episode or the one after that, I will dive into the book and share way more information about it. I kind of mention it here and there. It's something that I've been trickling into my content. I haven't really sat down to make a long form video about it yet, but Patrick and I, it's our first time obviously being authors, so we didn't know we didn't know the pricing of the book and how that was going to go down. And essentially with inflation costs and things like that, I just want to be so transparent that the book is priced by it's kind of based off the prices that the printing center has set, and then the publishing company has set as well. So we tried to lower the price of the book. So to be quite honest, I believe it's $25 on Amazon, which is a normal book price, I believe, but we kind of wanted it to be $17 or $15.99 or something like that. Right now, Patrick actually created a TikTok shop for the book, and he just bought a bunch of them in bulk, and so we've been sharing it that way, and we were able to obviously adjust the price of that. So that's why it's, I think, about $17, $17.99, $17.77, something like that on TikTok Shop. I will put all the options below just in case you guys wanted to look at what one would serve you best, or if you were curious about the book in any way. But I just would mention that if you guys are watching me on YouTube, you see my little stack of books next to me, and it's so crazy to see that. Yeah, I'm so excited to be back. I am right now feeling so tapped in and so divinely inspired. I don't know about you guys, but over the summer I went through such a rebirth. I've been through so many. I feel like my journey, if I could describe it to literally anybody, my spiritual journey, it would be me shedding myself and rebirthing myself, shedding myself, rebirthing myself so many times. And I finally feel ready, and I knew what I was being prepared for all these years, but it was almost like me knowing that I was still healing, and I still am healing, by the way, and I will always claim that. I will never sit here and claim that I'm done and I don't do this work anymore. I love this freaking work, and I'm always working on myself, but I feel like there was never really a time, there was never really a point in your journey where in anyone's journey as well, if you're listening to this and you're healing and you get to it's not like you get this checkpoint and this letter in the mail that says, congratulations, you've graduated. You know what I mean? There's really no, it's an internal feeling, I believe. And I kept feeling I knew what I was being prepared for. I knew that I was being prepared to work on anything within me that prevents me from showing up real, raw, and authentic, and also from sharing my beliefs, because I've spent so much time and energy watching other spiritual people and holistic energy, whatever they may be and label themselves as. I feel like the everyone's labels are very personal and whatever, but I feel like I've just spent so many years observing everybody that I had to take a step away to kind of double down on what I believe to be true, because, I think a lot of us are sharing a lot of the same things. And for me, there are things that I don't live by. There are things that I don't feel are necessary. You know, there's a lot of these things that I knew that I needed to heal certain things in order for me to completely show up. And then there was a period of time where I felt ready, but I was resting, and I maybe was even subconsciously self-sabotaging, because it's almost like you know that you are a powerful being, that you could create change in your life, and that's how powerful you are. And that any change that you really desire outside yourself will come through you first. And it's almost like I feared that, or I feared how great things could get. And that sounds so silly when you hear me say that, but I feel like there will be so many people that relate to that, of either you could be said in so many ways, like fearing your own power, self-sabotaging a good thing because you're worried it's going to be ripped away from you, or wondering if you could maintain such things, you know, like whatever it may be. So I've been going through a lot this summer. I was going through a huge rebirth, and I was doing a lot of planning behind the scenes and all of these things, but I'm super, super excited to start sharing. I've been really taking care of myself, because as I found, it's a beautiful correlation. The more that I intend to show up more for others, the more that I also have realized that I need to show up even more for myself. So I've been finding that balance in routine and like physical human matters of routine and when to do what things, and you know, but also learning how to like follow my own energetic flow, and like grounding. Like I just actually got back from a walk with my dog, and I took my shoes off in the grass because it was like so grounding for me. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. And today, I really want to talk about the let them theory and people pleasing, because this is a huge thing that you guys can use to overcome people pleasing tendencies. And I want to make it clear that now that there's so much more education and information floating around about people pleasing tendencies, yes, being a people pleaser is a disservice to yourself. You're sacrificing your peace and your energy, and you're doing it because you probably need motivation. You're probably doing it because you need validation, or you want to be seen in a certain light. You want to control people's perceptions, and you feel like they're gonna not like you if you don't show up. So then you show up because you feel like you have to. Like, I know that people pleasing comes from with all of this stuff, right? I was a former people pleaser myself. We can come into a balance where we heal from our people pleasing tendencies, because one thing that I thought when I was doing this myself, and I worked with a mentor actually on this, I think I paid like over $1,000 for like an 8-week mastermind, so fucking worth it. And I was in this small group. There was like 4 of us women, and we were healing from our people pleasing tendencies and playing small and like all of these things. And I thought that, okay, if I'm not going to be a people pleaser anymore, then that means that I have to be this like stingy, like never around, bitchy kind of person. And my mentor was like, who told you that? Like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I really just thought that if I'm not a people pleaser anymore, and I'm more autonomous over the decisions I make and why I'm making them, you know, or if I don't want to do something and then I say no, you know, that makes me seem like bitchy. And they're like, no, it doesn't. Because think about all the times that people have said no to you, or people were like, sorry, I won't be at your wedding. I'm going to be on vacation. You know, not that I haven't gotten married yet, but like situations like that where it's like you're showing up all the time for other people, but no one's really showing up for you, you know, kind of energy. And so it's like, it's not that they don't deserve to be celebrated, but it's more so like reeling my energy back in, because the more you people please, the more you create inauthentic relationships. So what I feel is that there is a balance that we can create where we don't lose that part of us, especially for women, that we are nurturing and caring, and, you know, maybe we go the extra mile to make someone feel seen and appreciated. That's love. That's great. But some people pleasing starts to become a burden for ourselves when we sacrifice our own money, things, time, energy, desires, needs for other people, right? like we start to show up for other people because we want to make sure that we keep our reputation, or we know that, you know, oh, my in-laws are going to be pissed if I don't come to Christmas because the whole family is going to be there but me. So if I don't come, then they're not going to have their whole family together because they're going to be missing me, the one person that won't be there. And it's kind of like, so what, you're gonna make yourself go even though you have other plans or you actually don't want to be there, but the only reason why you're going is to fill and please that person so they can have what they want. Meanwhile, you're not getting what you want. You know what I mean? So people pleasing starts to become a problem per se for us because we realize that it can even form resentment with people where, yes, maybe you in that situation, you show up, but the whole time you're actually pissed because energetically you don't want to be there, and everyone fucking feels that. You're fearful of a certain family member and what they're going to say about you, so you make sure that you're always on their good side. But what happens when we live our life this way, you guys, is that nobody really knows the real us because they're just used to the version of us that meets all their needs and shows up and always makes sure they're good. But we most of the time don't really receive that behavior from those same people for ourselves, right? And so what happens is you now start to make decisions where, yes, that other person is now comfortable, more pleased with you, you know, your reputation's in good standing, but ultimately you're losing time, which is the only limited resource that we have. And your energy, you're not experiencing the things that you want to experience because you're forcing yourself to do things that you don't want to do or don't want to be at to make other people happy, you know? And so what I write in my book about people pleasing here is that, like, if you want to have genuine connections with people, it is so important to heal from these people pleasing tendencies, because what happens is you create these inauthentic connections. They know the version of you that's always around, that puts you first, or puts them first, and you act a certain way. Even though you don't want to be there, you show up and you're like, hi, everybody, like, ma, you know, like, oh my God, it's so nice to see you. And like, you know, you're wearing a mask. And it's funny because energetically people can feel you don't want to be there, but you're like kind of overcompensating with this happy-go-lucky personality. And it just creates these inauthentic connections, because what happens is when you stop people pleasing, you start to say the word no more, you're less available, you start to actually prioritize where you want to be and say, sorry, I can't make it this year, I'm gonna be in this place, or I'm going on vacation with my girlfriends, and sorry, I won't be there, you know, at Thanksgiving or whatever it is. And everyone's like, gasp, like, oh my gosh, how dare they? How dare they not think about us, right? Because you kind of programmed them, or at least they're used to, you always being there. And so when you're not, the first time you're not, they're like, what the heck? Are they mad at us? What's going on? You know? And this is kind of the fear that I had when my mentor was sharing this stuff with me. And I was like, I don't want to be a bitch. And they were like, they will probably perceive you as a bitch, but you are actually not. Like, if they want to perceive you as being a bitch for putting yourself first, for being where you actually want to be, and they should be happy for you that you're going to be in Cabo during Thanksgiving, but they're being selfish about the fact that they want you with them, right? So it's interesting when we can look at our people-pleasing tendencies like this. And mine actually formed when I was a young kid, because I kind of felt like I grew up in a home that was a lot of like, it was traditional values, you know, authoritarian kind of parenting, fear-based parenting. And so the way that we grew up, once I was kind of a little bit older, I learned like, okay, mom and dad had a really bad day today. When they come home, they're going to be pissed. That makes me unsafe, or that makes me vulnerable or susceptible to their anger. So what can I do to make them less angry so that I can benefit from a comfortable, safe, chill environment tonight? You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of us, when we can get to the root cause of where our people-pleasing came from, it's really important. Mine came from wanting to be the emotional buffer or monitor for other people, I kind of absorbed the emotional labor unconsciously from my parents and thought it was my responsibility to fix that. So I would do things out of a people pleasing mindset. So like when I knew they were on their way home, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to clean the kitchen. I'm doing all the laundry today. I'll cook dinner. I'm freaking 11 years old. I'll cook dinner because that way they'll get home and instead of them being pissed, they'll be like, wow, look at all this. I'm pleasing them. You know what I mean? But I'm doing this out of like a trauma response. I'm doing it out of an energy of wanting something in return. And what I wanted in return at the time was valid. I wanted safety. I wanted nurturing. I wanted love. I wanted a looser environment, not so strict and fearful and walking on eggshells, right? So I did things to try and impress them or please them to then make them feel like they could be proud of me or be a little bit happier that night. And therefore I felt safer and I could relax. Like my nervous system could actually relax because my parents were chilling. It's so important to really take a look at it. I know some of my girlfriends, like my personal friends in my life, have people-pleasing tendencies because they were an older sibling and they were overlooked as a child. So they felt like they had to constantly overperform and overload their plates and show in many ways, whether it's through accolades or making money or constantly being busy, that they had to show. That's how they received like, oh, my parents will be pleased with me because I got 100 on my test and I, went to practice and then I, whatever, did all my chores when I got home. Like I feel like I have friends that they did it more out of trying to be seen by their parents. It's really important to ask yourself, like, why do I do this? Is it because I don't want people to have a negative opinion of me? And like also ask yourself, what are you sacrificing as a result, right? And I know that some people might be listening to this episode and thinking, what's the big deal if you just go spend some time with your family? What's the big deal if you just like make it a point to show up here, there, and everywhere? And it's not, right? Like if there's an important thing to show up as, like, or to show up to, do that. But my point here is that you stop living in your own life because all of your extra time is filled with other people's needs. And a lot of these situations, they would be okay if you weren't there, right? It's not the end of the world if you missed one birthday party. Not going to be the end of the world if you have to work late. But what happens is we have this people-pleasing mindset that maybe we are working late and we made plans to go somewhere to like show up for something. But, and instead of just being like, you know what, I can't control this, I'm working late tonight, I'll just text them and say like, hey, unfortunately, out of my control, can't show up. Hope you have a great time. Maybe we'll see each other again this weekend, whatever. But what happens is when we are people pleasers, we stress the fuck out about these things. We're like, oh my God, how can I get out of work? We start to like have conversations with our boss to be like, wait, can I, are you sure like you need me? Can I please, you know what I mean? And it's like, or we start to like leave work and we're all stressed, so our nervous system's so dysregulated and we're like speeding to the dinner or whatever the hell we have to get to, and we're like all dysregulated and as if like this whole thing is dependent on us. And that creates so much overwhelm and stress and burdens. And what happens is the more and more that you do this here, there, and it starts to build and build and build. Or if you just have a lot of family, you have a lot of friends, it's impossible to live your own life and do the things you want to do and show up for yourself when you're constantly trying to please everyone around you. And so there's a couple of things that I've done to heal from my people-pleasing tendencies, because as I said before, I am a naturally giving person, and I don't mean that as a arrogant thing to say. Like at the soul level, I am so, I want to say nurturing, but so like, I want people to feel seen. I want to show up for others. I want people to feel celebrated. I care so much about other people. But what happens is I realize that it's like, do you care about yourself the same way? What would life look like? How much more success, abundance in many forms, relationships, like closer relationships with your partner, your best friend, right? Like how and what would your life look like if you kind of dropped these people-pleasing tendencies and you did things when you wanted to and you didn't do things when you didn't want to, and you said no when you really mean no, and you say yes when you really mean yes? What would your life look like? you know? And that's what I started asking myself, because I've always gotten these visions of myself living a certain life, living a certain lifestyle. And I know 100% that God was showing me those things to tell me, like, this is like a possibility for you if you keep walking down this road. Obviously, in order to obtain and get into and receive these things that you're seeing, you have to grow into that version of you that would receive those things. I'm not saying that all this is guaranteed, like, right? Nothing really is. God never guaranteed everybody a perfect life, because that's not the purpose of this life. And so it's so interesting when you can start to play around with those ideas. And so the fact that I had these big goals, I'm like, I can't be creating a life that is so me and so in alignment to me and goes against pretty much every rule in the book as far as like societal norms and traditional values. And I want this, and I want to achieve these things and help people at these magnitudes. If that's going to be me, I can't spend my time constantly using my mental energy and putting my nervous system into this fight or flight feeling of like, I have to be there. Almost like God was saying, that version of you says the word no a lot fucking more. And it's okay. And like, I think that also as people pleasers, we carry this like, and it's not on purpose, obviously, but it's like this savior mentality where it's like, if I don't show up, they're gonna be upset. And it's like, then that's what's gonna happen, but it's not your responsibility. So we put all this burden on ourselves to show up, to be in control of things that really aren't in our control, right? And even the higher spiritual perspective, like, yes, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Yes, we are here to give as well as receive. But I think that us people pleasers are so used to giving that when it's our turn to receive, we literally can't. Because we're giving as people pleasers from a place of not feeling worthy, of needing something in return, whether that's like validation, right? Like, it's these wounds that we haven't healed yet within ourselves. So we people please, and then we're like, yeah, like, I know they're gonna love me for doing this. And it's like, you're still doing that from a want or a need for yourself, because ultimately you know that you're benefiting in some way from that person having a good reputation of you, right? Like, let's ask ourselves this right now. Would it be the worst thing if someone didn't fully like us? Would it be the worst thing if we actually loved us more than that person? Like, I feel like I've done so much self-love healing and healing from these people-pleasing tendencies that I no longer care to control someone's perception of me, because I know that they will only perceive me based on their own way of looking at life. I have my own things that I want to do and want to be at and want to create. And, you know, there are certain energies as well that I just don't enjoy being around. So why would I force myself to be there if I'm draining myself, if I'm losing time, if I'm losing energy, if I'm just going to show face? You know, you can show face and then dip. You know, like, there are certain boundaries we can create as well, but it's more so like, I promise you that if you are people pleasing, you're probably not living your own life to the fullest, because you're filling a lot of your time and you're living your life in a way that makes everyone else comfortable and happy with you, but ultimately leaves you feeling unfulfilled, right? Like, it's that question of, instead of saying, well, do they like me? I want everyone to like me. It's more so living from the energy of, do I like me? I want to love me. One of the things, which is the title of this video, which we're getting to, I know we kind of get to like the main topic at the end, but it's okay because I kind of already said a lot, and this will kind of pull it all together. So one of the amazing things is called let them theory, or let them. And I know that Mel Robbins, I believe, is very famous for this phrase, the let them theory, or Mel Robbins says let them. And she talks a lot about this. I've seen some of her clips and stuff, but I'm not crediting myself for this. Like, I'm not saying, I don't know if she even fully like coined the term. Like, I don't know who to give credit to. All I know is that she said it before me, and this is a great thing. And I think I want to expand upon it because I used this theory and this way of living to heal myself from these people-pleasing tendencies. So I thought I'd share it with you today. The let them theory is exactly what it says. Let them. If someone's gonna gossip about you because of the choices you're making, let them. Karma's a bitch. If someone is going to say, wow, everything was going to be perfect, but then Arianna didn't show up, let them. Let them be in that energy. right? Everyone else is on their own journey. And as long as you are acting from love for yourself, you're not hurting anybody, you're not being outright rude, disrespectful. If you're just saying, no, I'm sorry, I can't make it, and they're going to make a whole fuss about it, let them. If your parents are stressed out over the fact that you have a sibling and they're talking about, bitching about this and that and the choices that your sibling's making, and they get all riled up, even though it's nothing they can control, and ultimately they were the ones that raised that person, and they're just like, let them be stressed. I was at a baseball game last night for my little brother, and there was someone at the game that was like, this is ridiculous. They're 11. Why is this taking so long? They're not even playing games. What's going on here? Oh my gosh, it's my Friday night and I don't want to be here till 9 o'clock. This is absolutely ridiculous. And then like using any excuse to, and every 5 minutes there was some sort of negative comment. And their energy, like I was not triggered by this, and I was just like, you know what? Like they're creating their own stress. They can't leave, right? Because their kid is playing in the game. They have nowhere to go. They have to be there, right? It's a Friday night. It's literally like 8:30. The game's still going on. You're sitting there. You're waiting for your kid to be done. And you're choosing to spend that time just stressing, being angry, saying all this stuff. Literally allowing your energy to now infiltrate other people, because now you're choosing to vent your anger and your annoyingness and frustration to everyone else around you, right? Not understanding that now your energy is starting to affect everybody else, right? Not me though, because I was regulating myself. And like, you know what I mean? It's like, let them. And so as a people pleaser, it's so hard because you want to be like, no, it's okay. Like, do you want me to, like, I'd be that person that's like, I'll bring you home even though it's 40 minutes out of the way, you know, because I know you're stressed, and I want to be that person that rescues you and makes you feel like, oh, thank you, Arianna. Like, you really solved my problems. Like, no, the let them theory, let them. That person at the baseball game was creating their own stress. They had another choice. They always have an invitation. You always have an invitation to perceive the situation differently. And like, even it got to the point where I was like this person who kept like saying these things under their breath and like acting all pissed off and shit. And I was sitting there and I was like laughing. Like at one point they were like, they're 11. They're not even fucking doing anything anymore. Like, what's the fucking holdup? And I literally was just like, ha ha ha. Like I literally like giggled. And they like kind of looked at me, and I'm just like, I'm literally a representation of the energy that you could choose, but you're choosing, right? And I don't mean that in a, like a look at me kind of way, but seriously, you know what I mean? Like they are choosing to allow themselves to be annoyed and that frustrated as a grown fucking adult by the fact that a 11U baseball game on a Friday night went a little bit too long and they wanted to be in bed. And granted, that person probably went home and just got into bed and turned on their TV. You know what I mean? Like, it's just let them. Because watch the peace enter your life when you just let people be, do, and destroy their own lives. When you let people just be stressed. When you let people just assume the worst case scenario. Because obviously, as my job is to help people work through these things, to regulate themselves, people come to me that recognize that they don't want to feel or be like this anymore, and that it's actually possible for them to feel more peace and, you know, work on their internal world and know that they actually have control over how they're thinking and how they're being and how they're feeling, you know. But if you have people around you that aren't in touch with personal development and healing and all this stuff, and you are, and you're on your own journey and you're healing yourself and you're working on yourself, it's still not your job just because you're so wise and you know how this person could shift things or change things, or, you know, it's not your job to feel responsible for helping that person in those moments, right? Like, I even shared another story where my friend, like there's a bunch of us in my friend's car. She had to pull over one time because the wheel was making weird noise. Ended up getting to our destination fine. But when everyone came out to check on her and to check out the car, you know, like everyone, like her dad, whatever, everyone came out to be like, hey, what happened? She made up this whole story about how we had to stop for 6 times, and now she's all like dramatic and stressed and frustrated, right? And it's like, part of me wanted to be like, first off, no. Second of all, you're being overly dramatic because you like the attention, right? Like there's some sort of void or wound within her that she wants to receive this attention. Like she's obviously making the story bigger than it is for some reason, for some sort of benefit for herself. And so I even tried to like play it down and be like, we didn't stop 6 times. She didn't like that. So at that point I was like, let her. Fine. I went into the party. I was like, fine, you can be all dramatic and stressed. Let them. If they want to bitch and bitch and bitch, let them. If they want to say that they're going to get on their weight loss journey and then they keep eating sugar and drinking soda and never working out and then using the excuse that they have kids and that's why they don't have any time for themselves, let them. Right? Even though you're sitting here like, well, yes, you have a kid, but you can show the kid how to work out, or you can work out with your kid, or you can wake up before the kid wakes up. Like there's all these other solutions, like so many infinite solutions for that person to actually achieve what they desire. But they're kind of like using all these other excuses and then like, but using it to like kind of get sympathy, right? It's like part of you might want to be like, no, like help them, save them, show them, but even heal them at certain points, but let that person not get on their weight loss journey for the next 4 years. It's none of your business and it's not your responsibility. And this is where the peace starts to fucking flow in, you guys. And this doesn't mean you're a bitch. It doesn't mean that you don't care, but you have your own life to live, right? Like you are your main priority. And eventually, obviously, as we get older, it's not just us. Maybe we get married, maybe we have kids, then our kids have kids, right? So it's like, I want to work on myself now, especially that I'm young, so that as my life continues to expand, I have this solid foundation within myself, within boundaries, how to set boundaries, how to say the word no and mean it and not care and not feel guilt about it, right? Like I know that I am not going to be able to achieve the things that I want to achieve by constantly using my time and energy and my resources to constantly give to everyone else, but not also making sure that I'm receiving them in return, right? So people pleasing isn't a bad thing, but it can become a problem because you start to neglect your own needs and your own desires because you kind of value someone else's, or you value your own reputation. And if you value your reputation and how people perceive you, that stems from some sort of insecurity or anxiety, like the some sort of control factor that you have. You're unable to loosen control and let go of the fact that people are going to not like you. People are going to talk shit about you. Like I have extended family members that might see my work or my podcast or my videos and they might think that I'm freaking nuts. And that's fine. I don't care because they don't know what I know. They live their life in a different way than I do. We're on our own paths. Like they're on their journey. I'm on my journey. And we're all on our journeys together, right? So it becomes a problem or an imbalance when you start to kind of stop living your own journey and you start to try and force someone to be on a different journey, when in reality, maybe that person needs to be in a victim mindset for another 6 months or 7 months before they divinely get the inspiration to make a change, right? Like, I also feel like there's some sort of spiritual thing as well when it comes to like trying to help save fix other people's problems, because people are also meant to fix their own problems, right? Like, what kind of lesson would you be teaching someone if you're constantly saving them, if you're constantly there for them, like at all times? They don't have to learn how to be uncomfortable or solve things on their own. And it's hard because as a human being and as a spiritual being as well, if you're in touch with your spirituality, your heart is open. You have an open heart. You want people to feel better, right? Like, I even had dinner with somebody that I fucking love so much, and I could feel energetically and also kind of see clairvoyantly the darkness that they're in. And I found myself in the conversation trying to like coach or trying to, because this person knows me and what I do for a living, and I'm like, you know what? That's not invited. They're not asking for help. They are expressing what they're going through, but it's not my job to start giving unsolicited advice. It's not my job to save them. They're on their own journey. They are working through their wounds, and at the end of the day, it is not your job to help to sacrifice and let go of your things and your responsibilities and you as a priority. That person will learn their lesson on their own timing. That person's soul also chose to come here to evolve and learn certain things. So, if they ask for your help, and you want to give it, that's great. But at the same time, and you drop this feeling of feeling like it's your responsibility to help, and you have to show them the new way of being. You have to show them the how they could shift their perspective, whatever it may be. It's just so much more peaceful, because now instead of all that energy that you've been literally siphoning out, it's staying with you, or it's going out to things that are more in alignment to you, things that you consciously want to give to, things that actually request your help and actually want to learn from you, or people that admire you, things like that. And so when it comes to let them, I really believe like let them is like, let them be. Let people make mistakes. Let people vent about things that they're never going to change anyway. Let people gossip, even though, and don't participate. Let people say they're not going to drink, but then they're like, I kind of want to drink, and then they have a drink, or then they have 5 drinks, and you're sitting there, and it's not your responsibility. They're in control. They make their choices. They're on their journey. They're here to learn their lessons. And it's kind of like at some parts we don't realize that we're kind of getting in the way of that, right? Like I had to learn really harsh lessons. I had to go through some crap to learn some lessons, right? So who's to say that that's not what that person's going through now? Maybe someone else near you or around you is going through some shiz, but they're doing that because ultimately we learn from our pain. We learn from being in the darkness. That's where we acquire our strength. So this is Coda. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you probably can't see her, but she's a little bit in the frame. She's just started barking at everybody, and that is my sign to log off. So I hope that you guys like this episode. I hope that maybe you feel less guilt to start making decisions that are more in alignment to you, that you feel less like it's your responsibility to save other people, to make sure everyone else's emotions are at bay, when in reality they're the ones that can regulate that and learn how to. And it's not your responsibility to constantly save people, and more so to just follow your own guidance and start to create more boundaries, start saying the word no more. And this is actually a huge, huge thing that we're going to be working on as women, especially. I think women have a really hard time with people pleasing. It is so possible to heal from it. You will be so much more peaceful and feeling like you're using your time for things that you actually want to be at and want to, you have more time for yourself to show up, to even just relax, take a nap. You're more excited to start building your own life instead of feeling like all your free time is being siphoned out by all these other people, maybe activities, things that you feel like you have to show face at, whatever it may be. Or you just feel like you have to make decisions based on other people, and you could be missing out on some really amazing opportunities that are in alignment to you just because someone next to you or someone around you wouldn't like it if you did that, or it doesn't make sense, or it doesn't matter, right? So I hope that you really like this episode, and you start to let them a little bit more, the let them theory. I know that it definitely helped me. It's something to do in the moment when you find yourself like people pleasing or feeling torn between like something you really want to do or be at or work on, but then you have someone else that's like, can you come over? Like, I need you. And you're like, honestly, I was actually just about to pull up to the gym. I deserve to work out today. I really wanted to show up for myself. If I get my workout in and you're still around, then maybe we'll get together later. I'm so sorry. But like, that's letting them, right? Like, sometimes we can't always drop everything for other people. Sometimes when we do that, we actually delay our own growth and our own evolution or our health, whatever it may be. And so I really hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope that you learned a lot. I hope maybe you laughed, or maybe you related to certain things that I said. But I'm super, super excited to be back. And I really also want to start having not only the healing conversations, but also the spiritual conversations, because I just feel like there's a lot to be said when it comes to spirituality, how things work. And once you start to understand how like certain laws, like the law of cause and effect, the law of vibration, the more that you learn how things work, and you're able to hold that higher state of perspective and that higher state of being, is when you actually start to notice that you're starting to attract newer things into your life. You're less fearful of other things because you understand them now. And I really stand by that. And so I really think that like I now function from the energy of like, not everything is love and light, right? And so it's super important to accept that. Understand things at the spiritual level also helps us understand things at the at the levels of like the superficial levels of like what we're seeing, we're able to develop more information about that when we can actually zoom out and see the spiritual perspective as well. So you can buy my book on Amazon or TikTok shop. I will post it below. You can also write your questions into this podcast, which is something I mentioned last week, where you guys can go to my bio and scroll down to submit a question, and you guys can submit a question. You can write about an experience, something you're feeling, whatever it may be. You guys can write in and I will answer it on the podcast when I get a good amount of questions, and I'll do like one whole episode in answering all the questions that I've received. So definitely write in if you have a question, you feel like a lot of people might relate to your question and you want it to be anonymous. That's okay. I will never out you and share your information. So you can do that. Definitely rate this podcast. You can like it, download it. Rate the podcast on Spotify. Leave a comment if you're watching me on YouTube and say hi. And I'm super excited. Like, I want to post more videos, not only on my podcast here on YouTube, but also like on my actual YouTube channel. I did a reading. I might post more readings throughout the month and stuff like that. But like, I don't know what other videos I feel like anything that I would say in a video would be just made into a podcast episode. So I don't know, you guys. I'm so excited. I feel like I just have so much to share, and I'm just showing up more, posting more, throwing myself out there, and I'm so excited. So yeah, I will see you guys next week. I also want to start having more spiritual conversations. Even drop your comments, like tell me what you guys want to, if you guys want an episode on a certain thing. Like I did an episode a while back about like breakups, and I could probably speak way more on that now. Not because I've broken up with my boyfriend of 7 years, but because I just feel like I've evolved so much since I even made that video that I could probably expand on what I said. I've also been in a relationship with my boyfriend for 7 years, so I could speak on love, I could speak on partnership, masculine and feminine energy, like all of these things. I feel like I'm just going to be expanding what I'm talking about, spiritually, healing wise, holistic healing, all the things. So thank you guys so much for joining me here, and I hope you guys have a great week.